Good morning, children. So today we are in the continuation of the same chapter, metals and non-metals, and we were with the chemical properties of the metals and non-metals, where I completed the reaction of the metals with oxygen and the reaction of the metals with water. Now today we are starting with the reaction of the metals with the dilute mineral acids and the organic acids. So here we begin. If I say a metal reacts with any of the dilute acid, okay, in case of mineral we generally take HCl and H2SO4, that means hydrochloric acid and sulfuric acid. What mainly comes out is the hydrogen gas along with a salt is formed. Okay, so if instead of this one you will be taking organic acid, there also you will be getting salt plus hydrogen gas will be obtained. Okay, so let's take the example. If you have taken zinc and zinc is dropped in dilute HCl, you will definitely be getting hydrogen gas in the form of bubbles, and you will be getting a salt which will be zinc chloride. Okay, if you have taken zinc and you have taken dilute H2SO4, that means sulfuric acid, so you will find the liberation of hydrogen gas along with the formation of a compound, that is zinc sulfate, which is coming out in the form of a salt. Now you can take the example of magnesium. Magnesium is reacting with HCl, hydrochloric acid, which is dilute, and you will be getting hydrogen gas along with the formation of another salt, that is magnesium chloride. Now this is about the mineral acid, and you can take any metal and drop that metal in the dilute acid, mineral acid, you will be getting these salts and the hydrogen gas. Every time you will be getting this hydrogen gas. Then if instead of this one I go for the organic acid, let's take the example of CH3COOH. This is ethanoic acid. Okay, ethanoic acid when reacts with, let's say, magnesium, okay, then what will happen in this case? Now look, if I have taken mineral acid, hydrogen we are finding here, this magnesium is taking the place of this hydrogen. If I am talking about magnesium with organic acid, this hydrogen will be coming out and magnesium will be taking the place of this hydrogen. So what we are getting mainly is hydrogen gas, and salt which will be formed, that will be CH3COO, as it's a divalent, so you will get it W charge and then magnesium. So you are getting magnesium ethanoate. Let's take another example where instead of magnesium I have taken sodium, and sodium has been dropped in this organic acid, that is ethanoic acid. So you will get the salt CH3COONA plus hydrogen gas will be liberated. Now which is this compound? This is sodium ethanoate. Okay, in your second chapter, back exercise, okay, there is a question that we have taken two test tubes, and in one test tube we have added the mineral acid. Okay, let's say it is dilute HCl, and in another test tube we have taken any organic acid. Okay, and we added the equal, we have taken the equal amount of this. Let's say it is 5 ml and this is also 5 ml, and in that we have dropped the equal quantity of magnesium metal. Okay, if you will take magnesium metal, now they ask you in which case the reaction is going to be fast and why. Mineral acids are strong acids, as you know, they equally ionize, fully ionize in water. These are the weak acids. They are also definitely in both the cases hydrogen gas will be coming out and salt will be formed, but in this case the evolution of the hydrogen gas will be comparatively less as compared to this one. Now let's perform the activity. How to perform the activity for the following reactions? Let me teach you that one also. For carrying out this activity, what you have to take is, you will take a test tube, and this test tube has to be fixed on a stand. Okay, before doing further any step, put dilute HCl into this one. Then fit a cork and fix a delivery tube which is bent at right angle at 2 points. Finally, this end of the test tube, delivery tube, should dip into a stuff which is containing soap solution. Okay, and it should be very concentrated one. Once the arrangement has been done, then you will be lifting up this cork and you will be dropping any of the available matter. Let's say we have dropped the zinc granule. Okay, once you have dropped the zinc granule, immediately you will find that the evolution of the hydrogen gas will be taking place. Bubbles will be coming out. This hydrogen will be finding an outlet here, and from here it will be passing on to this area. And it will be trapped into the bubbles of the soap solution. It will be coming out in the form of bubble. Now you can bring the burning mastic nearby and the pop sound will be heard. Okay, you can confirm in a very secure way or with great safety this hydrogen gas by passing the hydrogen gas through the soap solution. Okay, this is very easy task. Once you will be reaching in the lab, we can do this activity very easily. Now let's move further to the another mineral acid, that is HNO3. Whenever I have taken any acid, I have taken HCl and H2SO4 in case of mineral acid, but I am not considering dilute HNO3. Now what is the reason that it is not taken into consideration when we are talking about these two acids? So let's go for the explanation for this one too. I told you in the beginning, when the metals react with acid, they form salt and hydrogen gas is liberated. So if I take any metal here and it is made to react with mineral acid, that is nitric acid, you will be getting the salt, but along with that you will be getting any oxide of nitrogen, and then you will get water. Now what is the reason? Actually nitric acid is a strong oxidizing agent. Remember these words. It's a strong oxidizing agent. What does it mean? That means it's a compound which is capable of releasing its oxygen so that anything which is there on the product side gets oxidized. That means it is forming a compound which is made by reacting with oxygen. Now how it happens? Now this, if I say it is a good strong oxidizing agent, that means oxygen which is present here will be reacting with this hydrogen to form water, with this nitrogen to form any oxide of nitrogen, then with this metal to form any salt which is containing oxygen. Let's take the example of zinc. Zinc is reacting with dilute HNO3 and it will be forming zinc nitrate, that is a salt, and it will be coming out liberating a gas which is nitrogen dioxide, and then the water will be formed. Better you write down water here and the gas here, because whenever we write down the product, generally it is written in this form: first solid, then liquid, then gases. That means you should write down in this way: zinc nitrate, then water, and then NO2. It's not necessary that every time nitrogen dioxide be coming. In some of the reaction it is nitrous oxide which is formed, some oxide it is NO will be released. So any of the oxide of the nitrogen according to the reactant, it may be released there in the reaction. So what is the main reason why the behavior of the nitric acid is different than as compared to the other mineral acids towards a metal? Because of its oxidizing agent. But here also we are having two exceptions. When nitric acid reacts with either magnesium or manganese, okay, then it behaves exactly in the similar way as the other mineral acids are doing. Then in that case you will get magnesium nitrate, and along with that you will get the evolution of this hydrogen gas. If it is not magnesium, manganese has been taken, then you will get manganese. If instead of this magnesium you have taken manganese and it is made to react with dilute HNO3, you will get manganese nitrate, and that is a salt, and you will get hydrogen gas. Let's start with another chemical property of the metals where we are going to talk about the displacement reaction. Now what does it mean? Those reactions in which a more reactive element takes the place of less reactive elements from their salt solution. These are very important words. That means the less reactive element should be in the form of compound, and that has to be converted in the form of a solution. That means that has to be dissolved in water. So let's take the general example where you have taken an X metal and that has been dropped in a solution of Y sulfate. and this is aqueous, that means you have converted it into the solution form. X will be replacing this Y. So you will get X sulfate and Y will be becoming free. So we will conclude that X is more reactive than Y. So this type of reaction is given the name of displacement reaction. Let's take the example where we have taken copper sulfate in the aqueous form, which is pale green, which is bluish green in color. Bluish green in color. Okay. Then we have to drop the iron nail in this one. So you have taken a test tube, 5 ml of the water, you have dissolved the crystals of copper sulfate. These are having 5 molecules of water of crystallization, and you drop the iron nail into this one. Okay. Then what will you observe? FeSO4 will be formed and copper will get free. This copper is coming out in the form of a solid. We put a downward arrow to depict that the solid has been formed. Now the main thing is what observations will be made. What observations will be made? The first and the topmost is that spontaneous change will be observed. That means this is a very fast process. The moment you drop the nail, immediately the reaction begins. First. So that means it is a spontaneous reaction. First observation. Second, slowly the copper sulfate solution, which was bluish green in color, will change into green colored ferrous sulfate solution. You know this is dirty green color. You know you have seen the crystals of ferrous sulfate. They are always dirty green in color. The solution will be dirty green in color. And the third one, and moreover, if you will let this reaction happen and continue for 2 hours and 2.5 hours or 3 hours, towards the end you will find that the completely disappearance of the bluish green color, which was very bright in the transparent solution, and you will find the green colored solution towards the end. Next thing which you will be finding, that the lustrous iron nail which was taken initially, that will turn dull. Now the reason is why. Reason is because the reaction happens on the surface of the metal. So this reaction will also be starting on the surface of the metal, and you know this is displacing this one. So this copper will start depositing on the iron nail, and that deposition of copper on the surface of iron nail turns it into dull. Next one is, this is an exothermic reaction. That means too much of the heat is liberated. When you will be touching the test tube in which the reaction is happening, you will find that this has turned warm. That means it is an exothermic reaction. Now the next one, with point which you have to learn, is the reddish brown coat is found. Reddish brown coat on iron. Okay, and this coat which is formed is dull. It is smooth. You cannot say the reaction has started on the lower part of the nail, or the middle part of the nail, or on the top part of the nail. It's a smooth coat which is developed, and it is a flaky coat. Flaky coat means after a certain period of time, when too much of the copper gets deposited on the surface, it starts falling down. So if the reaction gets completed and it has happened for 3 hours, then you will be filtering the content. You will find on the filter paper, or you can say in the form of residue copper, and as a filtrate you will be finding the solution of ferrous sulfate. So aqueous solution of ferrous sulfate will be coming out as a filtrate, and copper we will be getting as a residue. So this is all about the displacement reaction. Here you can go ahead with aluminium sulfate is made to react with, you can say we have dropped magnesium in this one. Reaction will happen because this magnesium is more reactive than aluminium. You can take zinc sulfate and you have added you can say aluminium in this one. Yes, reaction will take place. Aluminium sulfate will be formed and the zinc will get free because aluminium is more reactive than zinc. But what if you have taken copper sulfate and you have added silver in that one? No reaction will be happening. Reason, silver is less reactive than copper. There in the back exercise of chapter number 1, you are having a question in which it has been written, how will you get silver from the silver nitrate solution? By using copper metal, you can do that displacement reaction, drop copper, because copper is more reactive than silver. So you will get copper nitrate solution, and silver will deposit on the surface of copper. Till now we have discussed a few chemical properties of the metal. Those are not overall. We have discussed the reaction with oxygen, with water, with acids, and the displacement reaction of the metal. Depending on the reactivity series, or arranging the metal into reactivity series depending on their displacement reaction. This all I discussed. Besides those, there are many other where the metals are reacting with hydrogen. They are not frequently reacting, but very reactive elements, they react with hydrogen to form their hydrides. They react with chlorine also to form their chloride, as sodium reacts with chlorine to form sodium chloride. Now we are shifting ourselves to the chemical properties of the non-metal. Let's take first of all the non-metals with oxygen. Take a few examples. Carbon is a non-metal, nitrogen is a non-metal, sulfur is a non-metal, phosphorus is a non-metal. Now make them react with oxygen. Carbon forms carbon dioxide also, and carbon monoxide also. Okay, depending on the supply of the oxygen. If sufficient supply is there, it will be forming carbon dioxide. Incomplete supply, it will be forming carbon monoxide. If it is nitrogen with oxygen, then it will be forming nitrogen dioxide. Sulfur with oxygen will be forming sulfur dioxide. Phosphorus with oxygen will be forming phosphorus pentoxide. So their oxides are formed. We discussed about the nature of the oxides of the metal. Okay, here we will be discussing the nature of these oxides of the non-metals. These are either acidic or neutral. Okay, here carbon monoxide is one example which is a neutral oxide. You can take another example where hydrogen reacts with oxygen and it forms water. This is also a neutral oxide. Let's talk about the acidic nature of these non-metals. In class 8, you performed one activity where we take a gas jar, and in this gas jar we put a deflagrating spoon which was holding sulfur. Okay, this sulfur was burned and this gas jar was covered. Let the combustion be over. Okay, the gas will get accumulated in this one, and after that you have to uplift this lid and put a part of water, a very small quantity of water in this one, and then a solution will be formed. Because sulfur when burns, it will react with oxygen, it forms sulfur dioxide. So this sulfur dioxide is highly soluble in water. So once you will be pouring the water in this one, it will be forming H2SO3, that is sulfurous acid. Now what you have to do is, you will put blue litmus solution in this one. Pour a very small quantity, and the blue litmus will turn into red one. That showing that the nature of the sulfur dioxide is acidic in nature. This you have done with the activity where the iron sulfate crystals were very strongly heated and the sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide, they were coming out in your chapter 1, where we confirmed the presence of this sulfur dioxide or nature of the sulfur dioxide. We brought the moist blue litmus paper nearby and that turned into red one. Exactly in the similar way you have to perform the same activity. Okay, to confirm the nature of this sulfur dioxide. This sulfur dioxide is highly unstable with us. This reacts with oxygen very frequently and it forms sulfur trioxide, and if it dissolves in water, it forms another acid which is sulfuric acid. This also turns the blue litmus into red one. So you can go with the, instead of the sulfur, you can take any of these non-metals and perform the activity in the similar way. You will get the similar results. Okay, so this is all about the nature of the oxides of the non-metal. Then these non-metals react with hydrogen also and they form their respective hydrides like this way. And if we talk about their reaction, with water they never react. These non-metals do not react with water. That's why certain non-metals which are very reactive, they are stored under water. Okay, and then next one you can make them react with chlorine, like sulfur reacts with. This is all about the chemical properties of the metals and the non-metal. There are many more, but in your syllabus they have included a very small number of these properties. Okay, so I hope you must have understood all the chemical properties related to the metals and the non-metal. In next period, we will be continuing with the next topic. Till then, take care of yourself and revise all the things very